Once your purchase has been successful, you will see this message. You can also check your purchase by clicking the Manage Your Subscriptions button. You now have instant access to live matchday coverage. Visit Club TV and select Live.
More's free in the box one now!
Live streams begin 1 hour before kickoff, and recommended desktop browsers are Mozilla Firefox and Google Chrome. You can also watch or listen on the go via the official Cardiff City app. For technical support, email Cardiff TV support at streamamg.com.
For more behind-the-scenes content, download the Cardiff City Google extension for your home browser.
To purchase a pass for live matchday coverage on Cardiff City TV, visit the official Cardiff City FC website. Once logged into your Bluebirds Club account, navigate to Club TV and select Buy Packages. Select the pass you wish to purchase and click Buy Now. Next, fill in your payment details and click Submit Payment. Once your purchase has been successful, you will see this message. You can also check your purchase by clicking the Manage Your Subscriptions button. You now have instant access to live matchday coverage. Visit Club TV and select Live.
More's free in the box one now!
Live streams begin 1 hour before kickoff, and recommended desktop browsers are Mozilla Firefox and Google Chrome. You can also watch or listen on the go via the official Cardiff City app. For technical support, email Cardiff TV support at streamamg.com.
For more behind-the-scenes content, download the Cardiff City Google extension for your home browser.
welcome back to Cardiff City TV.
Tommy over the wall and into the goal! Cut back to Rolls, and Rolls fires home.
Good evening, welcome to Cardiff City TV for tonight's live coverage of the Bluebirds at home against Birmingham City. And if you've never seen two men clutch at straws for 14 minutes on camera, then tonight's your lucky night, people. John, let's just go straight in. Has the 3 days distance from that game on Saturday improved your mood or not?
Not really. I suppose just like getting dumped at university, the 3-day rule applies and you feel a little bit better. But no, it was a derby day and the other team got the bragging rights. And it's the nature of the game, the nature of perhaps the decisions that were made. And I'm not suggesting anybody's effort and merit was lacking, but certainly there was more frustrations than I can remember for a long time in a derby game, and you know we don't come out of them, many of them on the right side, but Saturday seemed particularly frustrating.
Yeah, and there were parallels, weren't they, with the opening derby of last season. So with that in mind, do we need to disassociate ourselves from the derby on Saturday and then a discussion on derbies as a bigger picture? Because yes, Saturday wasn't good enough, and there's a multitude of reasons which we'll touch on for that, but also in recent years, this club, management has changed. There's been squad churn. You know, a lot of things have changed at this football club. But do we need to accept that the fact is that this club has an issue with Southfield's derby days now?
I think so, and I was thinking about this all weekend, whether you can put your finger on something tangible to say that's the issue. You know, you're right, managers have changed, players have come and gone, but Swansea, again, I would say I would never question Cardiff City's players' professionalism to care and want to go into that game on Saturday to play hard and to play well. But it's clear to everybody that Swansea had an edge, whatever that edge was. Whether you take it back to Dave Jones and that famous press conference that, you know, derbies were just another game to him, but you know, you can perhaps track it back to that. But certainly over the course of the last decade, when you go into a derby match, whether, and I mean this with all due respect in the world, whether there's a greater need for Swansea to win it because of some feeling of needing to prove themselves to Big Brother down the road or what have you, I'm not sure. But certainly I always feel that Swansea go into that game with a bigger desire, a mental edge, and it just proves itself on the pitch. And again, I'm not questioning any Cardiff City's players' professionalism. Work for Cardiff City TV, they're professional footballers, they want to win. But it's clear that over the last decade, Swansea City have had the edge in those games.
And talking of the edge, we touched on something before the game on Saturday, and something that we thought was an impact on the opening 45 minutes at Stoke. And you know, as a manager, you never want to change a winning team. But Cardiff looked a little leggy in the opening 45 minutes at Stoke and relied on the bench for that impact. The bench couldn't provide it to them on the weekend, and we did look a little flat in the opening 45 minutes, didn't we?
We did, and I am going to caveat every answer tonight with, you know, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I believe in the people who are working at this club. Neil Harris is someone who affects games from the bench, and we've given him credit in commentary on that. I think he would be the first to admit, in fact he was the first to admit, that he got a lot of things wrong on Saturday. I can understand not changing the winning team. You and I had the conversation off camera. Do you ride the momentum? Do you ride the crest of the wave? Or do you go with fresh legs? I think you were with fresh legs. I was probably on the ride the crest of the wave side of things. But I think after 30 minutes, you could see what was going on. And maybe you make the change then. And if you don't make the change then, you make the change at half-time and certainly get another man in the middle of the park and try and win that battle in there, because Cardiff were losing it and losing it severely. And then, of course, you get the issue when Joe Rolls is sent off. And, yes, you're chasing the game, but that delay in making a substitution and having Harry Wilson play centre midfield. So Neil Harris, he's affected so many games from the bench, and I give him a lot of credit for that. He did, and I say this respectfully, in my opinion, he got it wrong on Saturday.
And the other impact, and it might sound like us making excuses, but it didn't feel like a derby game. Swansea did incredibly well in the opening 6 minutes to make the game passive. They kept possession incredibly well, and the lack of presence of a crowd in this stadium has never been more keenly felt.
No, and I agree with that, and the fans would have helped. But Neil Harris spoke about it in his press conference that he needed his leaders to step up and generate that. It's not like the lack of fans came as a surprise, and it's not like it's the first game of the season. Yes, it was probably easier for Swansea being the away side, but I don't know whether you noticed it, Ash, in commentary. But the Swansea City bench were up for it. They were vocal. They were challenging every decision. Even the supporters in the director's box, their representation were vocal. We were passive, and we needed somebody to step up.
Well, in terms of the team news for this evening, we knew there were going to be changes after 5 games without them, and that's largely, obviously, because of the injury to Kiefer Moore, which looks a nasty one, and also the suspension to Joe Rolls sent off at the weekend. So 2 changes. Marlon Pack comes into the centre of midfield in place of Joe Rolls, and Gavin White gets a start. His first championship start since January the 31st, 2020. We expect him to line up on the right-hand side of midfield. So it looks a change back to the 4-2-3-1 formation, with Harry Wilson operating behind Robert Glatzel, who gets his chance to lead the line this evening after a few really encouraging displays off the bench.
Yeah, particularly that Stoke game, and I hope we see a continuation of the Stoke game. Yes, he's the lone man up there, but I hope he looks to go beyond like he was at Stoke, looks to play off the shoulders of the Birmingham defenders tonight. I don't think Robert Glatzel has ever looked comfortable to me in a Cardiff City shirt coming towards the ball. He hasn't got the physical presence of Kiefer Moore. Yes, he's 6 foot plus, but you know, if you're a man of my age, remember Tor Andre Flo at Chelsea. He was a 6-foot giant and he was awful in the air. He's not a physical centre forward. He wants to go off the shoulder. So hopefully he continues that trait tonight. And Cardiff City is important, particularly for the 2 centre halves. Don't just lump balls aimlessly up to Robert Glatzel. Look to play into those channels, but particularly Harry Wilson now back in a central position. The media's talked about this. He needs to be in a central position to affect the game. Well, Harry Wilson, it's your chance to affect the game tonight.
And also a big moment for the man outside him. I've just mentioned there, it's been, you know, the best part of 11 months since Gavin White's been given the opportunity to start a championship game. It's a big opportunity for him this evening. He needs to show something. It's
a huge opportunity, and Ash, you know his work rate will be great. He'll work up and down the line. My only, and again I say this is very average footballer, my only constructive criticism of Gavin White, sometimes I don't think his final product is good enough in terms of ball into the box, shot at goal, but he gets into dangerous positions, he closes down men, he undertakes his defensive responsibility, and he constantly looks to affect the game. I'm looking forward to seeing him tonight.
Well, those are the men that manager Neil Harris has chosen to lead the team this evening. This is what the manager had to say yesterday when he faced the local press, and he spoke about what he expects from his team in terms of a response from the weekend.
Players know how disappointed I was. The dressing room was disappointed. The dressing room was disappointed, to be honest. But then it's about leading and responding. And that's all the players can do now is respond, and I lead, and it all becomes about Birmingham. It won't be forgotten, and I forget the outside world won't be forgotten by my training ground for a long time to come. But we can't affect that till March. What I can affect is Wednesday, and the players can affect Wednesday. And what I won't allow is all the good work that led into that Swansea game to be dismantled in one poor showing. So, you know, we have to pick ourselves up, and we go again Wednesday, and it's a great way to respond to homes against a big club in Birmingham City, and we look forward to the challenge. And sometimes in the Championship you can't beat your best, and you have to find ways of winning games. We did that at Stoke, and the other 3 were excellent performances in their own right. So that's what we have to produce again tomorrow. It hurts us, hurts me, hurts you guys, hurts the fan base in particular, losing to Swansea. But players are robotic in some senses, where as much as they'd be hurting, and it had been pointed out to them, I'm sure, on social media, that they didn't play well enough on the weekend, but they are quite robotic footballers, and it comes to the next game and they focus on the next game, and when they go out on that pitch they can forget what's happened 4 days before or 4 weeks ago. They can just focus on 90 minutes. You see at the moment 5 or 6 teams at the top over 30 points, and but you know, to get in the playoffs you need 72 points. Ultimately, you need 72 points to get in the playoffs in the Championship, and last year Swansea got in with 70. So however well teams start, there's always a drop-off from teams, and there's always teams, i.e. Cardiff City, that come late in seasons like last year, and you get in. So Birmingham is going to be a tough opponent. Every Championship team's tough. Birmingham, big side. a team that flitters in shape changes all the time. So we have to be ready with how we want to play against them. Bobby would be the first to admit, when I thought he interviewed with you guys after the Huddersfield game, was it? And he said that he loves his time here. It's a new home for him, but he's not maybe quite hit the levels that he really wants to hit. And when he talks about that, he talks about Robert's a goal scorer. He just wants to score a goal every week. And if he doesn't score a goal, then he's gutted he hasn't scored. For me, it's a lot more makes a player than just scoring goals. But Robert's been honest enough to say that he's still not hit the levels in a consistent run that he wants to. And now possibly, depending on team selection, opportunity comes for him. And without putting extra pressure on his shoulders, he's just got to go out and play and enjoy himself when the chance is there. But, I think we all appreciate, within the club and you guys as well, there's more to come from Robert Glatzel, and let's hope we see more.
Manager Neil Harris there reflecting on the disappointment of the weekend and also looking ahead to this evening's game and what he expects out of this Birmingham City team. In terms of a team selection, what we've seen from Birmingham are changes, notably in the shape. They revert back to a 4-2-3-1, having deployed 3 centre-halves at the weekend in that defeat, the 1-0 defeat to Watford. Christian Pedersen suspended at left-back, sent off at the weekend, so Jay Clark-Salter slides across from centre-half to play at left-back. Veteran Mikel San Jose drops out of the 11, allows John Terral, who's got 2 goals in the recent win over Reading, to come back in and go and play as the number 10. Ivan Sanchez also returns, and he'll start on the right of the attacking line with Jukas Jukovic through the middle and Jonathan Leko on the left. A big return for them on the bench this evening as well, where Jeremy Bella is fit again, having missed the last 2 games. John, Birmingham, a side that look to have started to find their feet, just 2 defeats in their last 7 and all pretty tight games in that run. But are they another club at this level struggling to find an identity and their natural shape?
I think so. I think you've got a manager in there who is pragmatic defensively and likes to keep clean sheets, but then he also likes to keep possession of the ball. And he's got players that sometimes in that system, and we've seen it at Cardiff City, caught between a rock and a hard place, are they one thing or the other? So I've got to be honest, Ash, I expect a little bit of a messy game tonight between a Birmingham team that is struggling to find their identity and a Cardiff City team reeling from a Derby Day loss. Hopefully Cardiff will come out on the right end. But yes, certainly for Birmingham, I think whether their owners will have patience, but it's got to be a work in progress, because ever since Gary Rowett was sacked and Gianfranco Zola came in, it's just really been a conveyor belt then, and that club doesn't have an identity. If they're going with Karanka, I think they've got to give him time to build. They've got to give him a few transfer windows, because yes, he's gone back to 4-2-3-1 tonight, but he's been tinkering all season between 3-4-3, between wing backs. So clearly he's still experimenting at the moment, and hopefully that will benefit Cardiff City tonight.
And in terms of squad depth, if we look at it, really a completely different tale between the 2 clubs. Cardiff operating with the 2 central midfielders they have this evening in Will Vaulks and Marlon Pack. Birmingham, just a dearth of options in the middle of the park and in the number 10 position. They don't have a great deal of depth to the squad, but they have plenty of options and really experienced ones as well in the middle of the park. When you look at somebody like Adam Clayton, who seems to be the 5th choice central midfielder at the moment.
It is, and Adam Clayton, I always wonder, and you and I have had this conversation before, sort of player might just end up at Cardiff City one day.
Well, he seemed destined to be a Warnock signing at one point.
He seemed destined to be a Warnock signing, but never quite ends up at Cardiff City. But yes, I think for Karanka's, certain players have become available at certain times, players also that he knows from Middlesbrough that he's brought in, and it's not necessarily about constructing a squad surgically. It's just been about getting players he likes in whilst they're available, and as a result, again, similar to Cardiff City, you have an overload in certain areas, and yet you have a centre-half playing left-back tonight. So I think you've got 2 similar clubs, if I put it that way, tonight in terms of a rebuilding process. Cardiff City further ahead. Of course, they got to the playoffs last year, and there's pressure on Neil Harris to deliver again. It would be interesting to see whether Karanka gets that time at Birmingham, because I think they're probably going to be a mid-table club this year. They've made some shrewd signings. Let's not forget that Neil Etheridge is one of those signings.
Yeah, talking of Neil Etheridge, a big evening for him. He had a great time here at Cardiff City, beloved by the fans, and rightly so for his contributions to the Premier League season in rearguard action, but also the promotion season.
He'll be a player with a point to prove, though, this evening, won't he?
I think so, although it seemed to me, and you raised this point when he did leave, he seemed to leave on very good terms with everybody, happy with the situation. I think if Neil Etheridge was more comfortable with the ball at his feet, he'd probably still be a Cardiff City player. And that's no discredit to Alex Smithies. Alex Smithies has come in and claimed that jersey, but that was probably the advantage Smithies had, and that's why he was put into the team, and he's kept that spot his own. Neil Etheridge, though, as a shot stopper, as a reflex goalkeeper, absolutely superb. You can reel off the saves. There was one against Wolves in the Premier League at home, which was absolutely world class. But there was a long list in the Premier League, and again, you have to talk about crowd. It is a shame there's not 30,000 Bluebirds here tonight, because I'm sure Neil Etheridge would have got a resounding reception, and he would have deserved it.
Absolutely. Let's look back to the Bluebirds then. It's a very, very youthful-looking bench this evening that Neil Harris has gone with. Obviously, we're short of options. No Rolls, we know that. No Kiefer Moore for the time being as well. We know no Lee Tomlin still until the new year. Junior Hoyland not fit enough to go this evening either. So there are some new names on the bench for Cardiff, names that we're familiar with. We saw them play in pre-season when there weren't any fans allowed in, and we've seen them play at under-23 level and behind closed doors. But Kieran Evans, Keenan Patton, Shankar Zimba, all on the bench this evening. What kind of impact could they have if they're given the championship bout?
Well, more than anything, and again, after a Derby Day defeat, they come into the dressing room with enthusiasm. They'll want to make their marks. If they get a chance tonight, they'll be buzzing, they'll be playing off adrenaline, and they could come in and just have that X factor. Kieran Evans is someone I'm quite excited about. You'll see him come on. I'm only 5'9" at a push on tiptoes, and he's probably up to my waist. But he's someone he's got a diminutive style, but he's very strong, good centre of gravity, can play as a 10, can play wide, clever footballer, moves the ball quickly, can go both ways, great balance. So he's someone, having watched under-23 football this year, I've got a lot of hopes for. Zimba is a powerful, rangy striker who can run over the top, so if Cardiff have to stretch the game again, he's an option. And I'm intrigued by Patton. I was reading about how he spent time at Penn last year, and they were raving about him and acquitted himself well in pre-season, good range of passing. So all three of them on the bench, if they are called upon, they'll bring enthusiasm, but no little quality as well.
Thank you very much. And not to put words in your mouth, but
we've
spoken about the multitude of things that went wrong at the weekend in that game, and we've picked out two that Cardiff need to rectify, and quite simple things that they need to rectify this evening. First chance up, and that was the obvious lack of intensity and no real high press from Cardiff, which is rare to see because it's something that they do really well. And the other one, the damning statistic from the weekend, with just one cross apiece for the two Cardiff fullbacks into the box. And regardless of what shape you play, if you're playing a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1, you need width from your fullbacks and you need to get balls in the box, don't you?
You certainly do. I would echo those two. I'd add one more in terms of ball speed and the speed at which Swansea moved the ball showed Cardiff to be very pedestrian. And I agreed with you. I think Swansea can play better than that. They were sloppy in possession at certain times, but their speed at moving the ball really showed that's an area that Cardiff need to improve. The press, absolutely. If you've got a team that's playing possession football, we saw it at Watford. Cardiff got amongst the team, broke up the play, played on the transition very well, good counter-attack, so they need to do that. The fullback position will be an issue until the transfer window. Joe Bennett has had some stellar games this year, and he's had some games where he'd probably want to forget. Leandro Bacuna looks like a player who's filling in there. Again, doing a great job for the club, but he's had some dodgy moments, and I thought he had a dodgy first half on Saturday. But again, I caveat that with he's filling in and doing something for the team. But yeah, if you're not getting service, if you're not getting those fullbacks into the wide areas, you're missing a string to your bow, and Cardiff did certainly suffer there.
Thank you very much, John. And mercifully, that's the debrief over from the weekend. We're now looking ahead at this evening's game with Birmingham City. Live commentary from myself and Mark Denham upcoming. A final reminder for you guys, if you are watching this on YouTube, now switch over to the Cardiff City TV app or on the streaming services. And we've got Marlon Pack coming up from you now, back in the starting lineup this evening to replace Joe Rolls. And he faced the media this week also.
Maybe after the game, yeah. Obviously, not during the game. We'll be looking to be scoring past him. No, that would be a tough feat. He's a very established goalkeeper. Obviously done fantastic at Cardiff. But yeah, it's one of those where former teammates that you look to get one over them, and especially with Neil being a goalkeeper. And I'm sure he'll be looking to impress on his return.
What do you think of Birmingham this season?
I think I've seen them a few times on television. They look solid as always. they're always a tough outfit to come across, physical, but with also some very good footballers. So as every game in the Championship is another tough game for us.
Seems weird giving the cliche about the festive period being congested, because since September you've just played 2 games a week.
Yeah, it's the norm now at the minute. I think usually it was the old traditional saying over Christmas it's a busy period, but it has been a busy period for us, since September. So we've got the squad to be able to manage and cope. A lot of players that have been waiting for an opportunity, and I'd imagine they'll be utilised in some capacity. So it's just making sure, as we have been, the rest is right, the rules being reverted back to the 9 substitutes. I think it helps, especially over the busy period and the injuries that you've been seeing players picking up. It just gives you an opportunity, I suppose, in the manager to gain in games to change it in any way he seems best, I suppose, in whether we're chasing a game where you can bring on a few more attacking players, or if you've got the lead, you can bring on a few defensive-minded players to shore the game up. So it gives the manager plenty more options, and at the same time can give players some well-needed rest.
Top 5 in association with the Big Yellow Self-Storage Company.
Cardiff players looking to put pressure on Camp in the 6-yard box, pinning to his line. 3 Cardiff players there looking to attack. One of them is Morrison, but it's turned home by Lee Tomlin. A rare-headed goal from Tomlin at the near post, flashed across from the left-hand side, and he just got his body in front of his marker.
Big 20 minutes or so for midfield, Whittingham and Joe Rolls here. 2 players. Miller scores!
Superb anticipation again from Kenny Miller. Sniffs out the chance where there isn't one many a time.
Free kick is down the line to Mendes-Lang. Little step over, gets us onto the byline, gets us up into the box, cut back to Rolls, and Rolls fires home. 10 men Cardiff extend their lead.
To purchase a pass for live matchday coverage on Cardiff City TV, visit the official Cardiff City FC website. Once logged into your Bluebirds Club account, navigate to Club TV and select Buy Packages. Select the pass you wish to purchase and click Buy Now. Next, fill in your payment details and click Submit Payment. Once your purchase has been successful, you will see this message. You can also check your purchase by clicking the Manage Your Subscriptions button. You now have instant access to live matchday coverage. Visit Club TV and select Live.
Moore's free in the box, 1-0.
Live streams begin 1 hour before kickoff, and recommended desktop browsers are Mozilla Firefox and Google Chrome. You can also watch or listen on the go via the official Cardiff City app. For technical support, email Cardiff TV support@streamamg.com.
For more behind-the-scenes content, download the Cardiff City Google extension for your home browser.
welcome back to Cardiff City TV. Over the wall and into the goal! Cut back to Rolls, and Rolls fires home.
Good evening and welcome back to Cardiff City Stadium as the Bluebirds take on Birmingham City tonight live on Cardiff City TV. My name's Mark Denham, Ashley James alongside me. Thank you as ever for joining us for this one. Bluebirds looking to get back to winning ways after that difficult afternoon in the South Wales derby on Saturday. But of course a win tonight would be 5 wins out of 6, and that's nothing to be sniffed at this critical stage of the season as the Bluebirds look to get back closer to those playoff positions. In terms of team news, well, Neil Harris suggested it may be the case in his pre-match press that there would be necessary changes tonight. Of course, Kiefer Moore, as we know, a hamstring injury that will keep him out for the next 5 games. Don't expect to see Kiefer back before the FA Cup third round fixture against Nottingham Forest, probably the league game against Norwich after that. And of course, Joe Rawls suspended for that second booking on the weekend. He misses tonight's game. He'll be back for the away trip to Norwich, which ironically is this Saturday lunchtime, 12:30 kick-off, that one. So as the sides take to the field, the key news, as you will have already heard earlier in this evening's programme, is 3 changes to the starting lineup for Neil Harris. Robert Glatzel, who you can see on your pictures there, is back in the side. His 2 goals this season, he's looking to add further to those. Of course, Gavin White first up the season for him as part of the 3 behind Rob Glatzel, and Marlon Pack starts alongside Will Volks in the deep lying midfield roles. And I think it's fair to say, Ash, disappointment. Of course it was disappointing on Saturday, but a win tonight, 5 wins out of 6 that's not too bad at all in the circumstances.
No, not at all. And I think, just did a full and thorough debrief with John Donovan in the pre-match show, if you joined us for that. But I think there is a need to disassociate ourselves almost with the derby defeat and the raw emotion of that at the weekend, where, as you say, we can write it off as a one-off game, because if we win, then you're still on a really good run of form, and our problems with derby days now as a club as a whole, that's stretched across a number of years. So I do think it's important to disassociate those 2 things as much as we can.
Let's have a look at that bench. There's some youth on the bench. Neil Harris has named not only Mark Harris, who's dropped to the bench for the first time in 5 games tonight, but we've got Ian Keenan Patton, Chanka Zimba and Kieran Evans, who form a very youthful bench. I suppose it's unlikely that they'll feature unless Cardiff take a commanding lead in this one, but still good to see them on there, isn't it?
It is, and there are 3 players who have done well at under 23 level, and behind closed doors fixtures, they all blur into one at the moment, don't they? It's such a strange season. But in terms of Kieran Evans, who's somebody who I saw a little bit of in pre-season, was really impressed with him there, and I think we might actually see him this evening.
Interesting. Well, hope so. A number of absentees, of course, for the Bluebirds. No Kiefer Moore or Joe Rawls, as we said, following incidents on the weekend. No Jordi Osei Tutu, like